I believe that new hires have a unique ability to bring fresh ideas into their newly adopted organization. I was therefore curious to hear Brie Leung's insights relatively short time after joining the firm and promptly embarking on a process of refreshing the firm's marketing strategy. Trust, she says, is the key to instituting meaningful change with the firm, its partners, and senior management. Welcome to Law Firm Weekly. It's great to have you here. Brie Leung is Director of Strategy and Marketing with Much Shelist. She was the founder and principal of Redbird Strategy, where she focused on consulting law firms on change management, communications, marketing, and business strategy. Brie, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Shai. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's great. I read your LinkedIn page, or rather a portion of your LinkedIn page, and you wrote a short description that reads like this: I love helping people understand people. It is a cardinal factor in building and growing a successful business. That in mind, you recently moved from being an outside consultant to a full-time position. What's the best thing about it? And what is it that you miss about being a free agent, if there is anything?
Sure, there are many things. Let me start though with what's the best thing about coming in-house. And I say in-house coming into a law firm, although of course all my people in the law firm talk about in-house as being clients outside of the law firm. But for me, coming in-house to the law firm from being an outside consultant, one of the best things is being able to actually execute on the ideas and the plans and the recommendations that I'm accustomed to putting out there with organizations, and then not always getting the benefit of seeing what actually happens at the end. So as a consultant, you get to really go big picture, and you get to ideate and activate around those ideas and plans. But then again, you kind of are then done until the next engagement. And so that was one of the reasons that when this opportunity was presented to me, that I seized it, because I was really feeling hungry for the ability and the opportunity to drive things all the way to the finish line as part of a bigger team.
So clearly when you started the role, which was, I think, a number of months ago, you've embarked on a consultation process to, I guess, identify gaps or cement strategy. I'm assuming that that's part of why the firm asked you to join them. I believe, as part of this process, if I understand it correctly, you also engaged with the firm's clients. Can you share with us, whatever you can, obviously, what were those consultations, what it is that you're learning from the inside, and what is it that the clients are telling you? And I totally realize that's going to be generalized and there's only so much you can share, but anything that will be reasonably generic and that we can learn from on the mood out there will be useful, Brie.
We are definitely feeling right now a sense of back to business. We've had the summer months of being very much sheltered and locked in and quarantined, and many people, I feel like, putting their finger on the pause button to say, we're not quite sure how long this is going to last, so we're just going to hunker down. We're not going to make lots of big decisions right now. We're, of course, courts and things in the litigation space have been, on hold in many ways. And so there's been a lot of this sort of on hold position. And I feel that from, again, conversations with clients, as well as a number of other research factors that we're focused on right now, really starting to feel a change in movement and momentum towards, things aren't necessarily different, and they're not necessarily going to change anytime soon. We could be in this for another almost year before things start to feel normal again. And we can't continue to hold the pause button for all that time. So we have to get back into business mode. We have to get back into making decisions, strategically investing, moving forward. The courts, of course, to help us in those ways. People are becoming more and more comfortable with virtual means of doing business and communicating. So I think in kind of broad summary, broad headline fashion, that's a lot of what we're seeing and feeling. Of course, there are still businesses who are, because of the nature of their business, are not in a place to be able to accelerate yet, but it has been a sense that the pause button has been released, and people are starting to cautiously move forward, some more aggressively than others.
Sure. And, I'm thinking of a good marketing person as someone who is representing the firm in some ways outside, and then vice versa, brings news from the outside, from its clients. And sometimes that news is not that great. In other words, sometimes, and I'm not talking specifically about your situation, but in general terms, sometimes you have to it's tough love. You have to go back to the partnership and say, you know what, folks, here's some stuff that I'm hearing that I think we need to consider. How do you bring that kind of level of advocacy, client advocacy, which I can only imagine you probably agree is part of your role, but not alienate partners, and still kind of insist, here's some stuff we need to consider?
I think it all comes back to trust. I think it all comes back to respect. And when you have hard news to share and you've already built a foundation where the person who's on the receiving end of that, again, understands where your news is coming from, that it's coming from intent, it's coming from, we're in this together, we're after the same goal and objective. So let's take this news, whether it's hard or just not great or whatever, and be able to, turn it into something good. And how can we partner and do that? So frankly, I am much more excited and energized in some ways by having the interviews or getting the piece of information on the outside to bring in when it is something that's a little bit disruptive, rather than it's, yeah, things are great, just keep doing what you're doing. Because while that is good, it's not all that informative. So I tend to actually like when we get something, and it wouldn't be common that we get a bad piece of news. I'm fortunate to work for a great firm, but when we get something that might be slightly different from what the person I'm telling it to feels like is the right path, I think it opens up a bigger conversation that can be really, really beneficial to the firm and to our clients.
Now, many years ago, there was a famous saying that now does not hold true anymore, because everything that we do in our lives is measured online, especially right down to the smallest degree possible. But many years ago, when people talked about advertising, they said that they think that 50% of it works. They just don't know which 50 actually works. So I'm going to use that and kind of ask you, from a marketing point of view and setting goals for yourself and the firm, I'm sure it's something that is on your mind. How do you think in the next couple of years will you be able to measure the impact that the strategy and the changes that possibly you're bringing to the firm are going to actually take hold?
So we are very diligent about setting scorecard metrics and really understanding if this is what we want. Number one, why do we want it? What's in it for the people involved, for our clients on the outside, for our people on the inside. And that's not something that we spend a lot of time talking about, Shai, is how important it is for our people, our talent, our culture to be in alignment with everything we're doing. That's something that's really critical at Much, and something I'm balancing constantly. But the decisions that we're making about setting goals and then executing around those goals all have to be rooted then in scorecard metrics to say, so how will we know when we're successful? What does success look like? And those are something that we measure on an annual basis, formally and informally throughout the year.
I had an interview with a GC of a high-tech company in Silicon Valley called Marqeta. His name is Seth Weissman, and he is really, really interesting in that he's thinking about the kind of services he wants from outside counsel, from his suppliers, and the quality and how they should come in goes a little different than the average, well, we need more transparency into the billing processes, which is obvious and important and necessary. He actually talked about the need for firms to coach, grow, and educate their attorneys, their lawyers, especially as they're going through the ranks, to be more attentive to human aspects, what he calls EQ, right? The intelligence, in that respect, the emotional quotient. And he believes that will lead to, a better relationship with the client, and I guess to a certain extent, the empathy that you need to demonstrate in a situation such as the one that we're in, which is sometimes translating to simply picking up the phone and calling someone and say, I'm just going to see how you're doing. But beyond that, he says, even day to day, that ability sometimes lacks with many of the firms, because think about the kind of people that are becoming successful attorneys in very successful law firms. They're kind of type A, they're very focused on the knowledge of law. It's not always about that human connection. Can marketing, and I feel that you probably will agree with that in principle, where is marketing coming into this and its ability to influence that kind of thinking?
Mm-hmm. I think that it comes in as much of marketing in the legal world happens both at a macro level and a micro level. So I think on an empathy standpoint, it comes in on the macro level in terms of the stories that we're telling on behalf of our clients, the stories about the work that we're doing in the community, and how we are trying to help make communities and the world, frankly, a better place through the work we're doing, and isolating to different experiences so that it's not just one sort of blanket statement, one way or one approach. That's the macro level. I think more importantly, the micro level, the one-to-one relationship, the client experience, the client development that you're speaking to from the GC's point of view, it is about being other-centered. This is something that at Growth Play, the consultants that I had the privilege of working with there are just absolutely adamant about reinforcing and retelling over and over again. And I carry that banner inside my law firm now of it is about thinking about the other side first, not how would you want to be communicated with, how do they want to be communicated with. Don't assume that because I like Zoom, they're going to like Zoom. And always really trying to be very mindful about getting to know the other person at a human level, right? Understand their business, understand their industry, understand how things get done and how decisions get made, and what risks are involved. And all of those things are really, really important to your clients. Also, what's really important to them is that you understand them as human. And so asking the kinds of questions, being an active listener. So what can we do as marketers inside firms? It's really to continue to coach and reinforce that. It doesn't always come naturally to us as human beings to think about. We think about the golden rule, treat other people the way I want to be treated. And what I learned in my time at Growth Play, it's not. It's what they call the platinum rule, treat other people the way they want to be treated. And that's the kind of thing that I try to reinforce over and over again with all of the attorneys that I get to come into contact with.
Brie, it took us 3 attempts to try and connect, and each and one of us had something that was happening, and then it didn't happen, but finally we had this wonderful conversation, and I'm so happy that we persisted. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very, very busy, and I hope to have you on again. Thank you.
I would love it. Shai, thanks for being, this was great. Thanks so much.